Hi, everyone. This is Catherine Goldberg, and welcome back to the Senior Savvy Cannabis Podcast. Today is very exciting because we have our very first guest, Dr. June Chin. And I'm excited to hear what she's doing in the cannabis space and how she's helping people. And I think we can all learn a lot from her and get a broader idea of the cannabis landscape. So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. What, who are you? What led you to be here now? It's a unique time to be in this industry.
Absolutely. I am Chief Medical Officer of LeafWell, and LeafWell is the largest virtual care clinic for integrative cannabis care. We have over 100 providers in 30 different specialties, and we operate in 37 states. So I'm the Chief Medical Officer. We do education, we do research, we do a lot of education, actually. We have about 1 million visitors to our site a month, and we see about 15,000 patients per month.
That's
And
remarkable.
the heart of it is education because there's still a stigma with cannabis use. Many patients that come to us don't feel comfortable speaking with their own providers about medical cannabis use, so they can speak to one of our LeafWell providers and feel, that they have a very safe and supportive environment in any different specialty. So, for example, if you already see a rheumatologist in your, at your local doctor that's a rheumatologist, but he or she may not understand how to integrate medical cannabis for your rheumatoid arthritis, you can tap into the LeafWell specialist, and we can advise you on integrative cannabis care with a rheumatologist, with one of our rheumatologists, and we can work collaboratively with your local doctor.
Wow, that's
Mhm.
remarkable. So it it seems like a lot of people are really interested in cannabis and taking kind of that first step to figure out how to incorporate it into their life. It's it makes perfect sense that not everyone wants to talk about cannabis with their personal physician that has known them for for years, maybe that is active in their community, maybe they think people will be judged. I feel like it's similar to how I mean that's remarkable how technology is easing one of those burdens. And then also like to schlep to your doctor in traffic, like I'm in LA, so people don't want to be on the freeway. So this is great. And that's so cool that when you are able to talk to, sometimes I imagine the patients say, no, please talk to my doctor at home. Um, can you tell us just like a little bit about what that process is like? Because I think that's uncommon to find. Usually if someone is at Kaiser, they're at Kaiser under the Kaiser umbrella and no one wants to hear anything about it. So yeah, can you tell me a little bit about how that works?
Absolutely. And I can certainly understand that. I started my career 20 years ago, over 20 years ago, on the West Coast in California in the Bay Area. And I lived in Los Angeles and Orange County area for a long time before I moved to the East Coast here in New York. And cannabis, as you know, has been legalized in California since the late 90s, right? So we almost take it for granted on the West Coast. And then there's different cannabis laws throughout the United States, depending on, if it's medical cannabis legalized in a certain state or if there's adult use legalization in a certain state. So you have, providers that are in, I would say, um, have openness in a different way. It's almost like each state is its own culture. So there's certain providers that know about cannabis, that have heard about cannabis for a really long time, that are very comfortable talking to their patients about cannabis, maybe on the West Coast because it's been around for a long time, or maybe in the South where we've just legalized. They might not be comfortable talking to a patient. So patients feel when they come to the LeafWell network, because they can tap into a cannabis specialist, especially in their own specialty. So it could be a GYN, a general surgeon that talks about postoperative care. It could be a pediatrician, or it could be a pain specialist. They feel like they can talk about their own ailment in the context of an integrative cannabis care. And when you're looking in the LeafWell network, it's like getting a second opinion, right? You might say, you know what, I need a hip surgery. but I want to talk to one more surgeon just to make sure that now is the right timing for my hip surgery. So you would find another surgeon in your area and you would get a second opinion. So the LeafWell network is very similar. When you tap into our network, you can get a second opinion, but oftentimes they might say, well, can you relay this to our local doctor? Can you relay this back to, my care team at home? And we would share electronic medical records. We would share a summary note. So it's not out of the box when other doctors, providers work together. It's just in cannabis care a little more out of the box.
Absolutely. That makes complete sense. So can you tell me when a senior decides that cannabis, they've heard it from everyone and they say, okay, like I'm old, like I've got nothing left to lose. I'm gonna and then they find you. What can you tell us a little bit about like what their attitudes are when they kind of first get started, and then what their like biggest concerns are? And
Sure. Yeah, LeafWell is a 5-year-old company. We started during the pandemic when telehealth became a necessity. And I think for the senior population, telehealth has really been a blessing because it allows seniors to see their provider. And I'm not just talking a lethal provider, but seniors can see their primary care doctor, can see their endocrinologist or their diabetes specialist, but also their children who might live in a different state, or maybe they have grandkids that live in a different state, can actually tap into a Zoom telehealth in the same way without disrupting, like you said, taking the whole day out and picking up grandma or picking up mom and going to the doctor. If you do a telehealth appointment all together, a lot can be garnered from this information that your doctor is telling you. Maybe mom couldn't hear everything, didn't write everything down, but your caregiver, your grandchild or your child can listen. You can listen and be a part of the caregiving model. So I think telehealth has changed quite a bit for seniors. Our oldest patient is 96. I think it's a myth that seniors can't navigate telehealth. It's actually quite easy. You can do it through your mobile phone. You can do it through your laptop. Sometimes seniors will have a caregiver at home that helps tap in. But I would say seniors love the ability to do telehealth because they don't have to wait for an assessor ride or an Uber. They don't have to inconvenience family members and tell them, like, can you bring me to the doctor? Then when they get to the doctor's running an hour late and might not, give them the time that they need, right? They might have forgotten things that they want to say. They give them 5 minutes, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, well, I guess this visit is done. When you have a telehealth appointment, you have caregivers, usually they come very prepared. Caregivers have a list of things. Okay, mom, don't forget, we need to ask this, this, and this, and this. The seniors asking a bunch of questions. We talk about cannabis care, and then we talk about it in the context of, their arthritis or their neuropathy or their hip.
amazing, amazing. I do therapy via a Zoom, but like a private Zoom. Um, and it is such a blessing to be able to communicate with doctors in this way. The What didn't even occur to me that's brilliant is that the children can Zoom in. And so has that's happened before where like the children live in like perhaps even a different state and they join the oh well
Yeah.
that's a whole new way of that's fantastic.
Absolutely. I mean, even especially with during the pandemic when there was, no one could travel. I mean, that was a novel idea. Like, oh my gosh, my daughter can join from California and I'm in Florida. It's like, yes, that's amazing. And now it just really stuck with, I think, with health providers love it because there is that, second set of ears, and there's compliance. You can help, mom, like, did you remember to take the new medication? Did CVS deliver it? Are you taking your cannabis gummies the way Dr. Chin said to take it? So it's very nice, and I think it increases safety for seniors as well.
Absolutely. I mean, I when the whole family is on board towards a mission, magic happens. So
Absolutely. And seniors will say that when they come, and I think you had asked me what are seniors' reaction about cannabis. The number one thing that they say is, I don't want to get high. I don't want to fall. Maybe I live alone. I'm not trying to have like munchies. I just want better quality of life. I want to get out of pain, or I want to decrease my anxiety, or I want to sleep through the night. That's what the three main things that we see. We see for hundreds of conditions, but I would say the top conditions are chronic pain, anxiety, and insomnia.
Interesting.
Mhm.
Cool. Can you tell us a little bit about the different approaches that different seniors may use to treat those various conditions?
Sure. So it really, when we assess our seniors, we always talk about, what are your goals? If your goal is to be active during the day and be without pain, then we will recommend a cannabis formulation that is perfect for the daytime. It decreases pain and inflammation, doesn't make you drowsy or high, something you can easily take on your own and then be able to socialize or and walk and still be very active. Usually that's a form in it could be a gel cap or it could be a gummy. Sometimes it's a topical, it's an ointment that you can apply directly on your joints and ligaments. If a patient says, you know what, I actually just need to sleep. I have sleep apnea, I have a CPAP machine, I just can't sleep through the night. I've tried other medications and it doesn't work. Then we usually recommend like a sleep gummy or a sleep capsule that they can take at nighttime, and then it lasts through the night and you wake up not feeling groggy. And that's a different formulation as well. So it really depends on what their goals are.
So you're saying that it seems like that it, there cannabis comes in all forms, which is fabulous because there's going to be something that works for everyone and you can kind of experiment and see what works best for you. But it seems like, especially with seniors, is that they want something familiar and they're used to taking pills and they're used to taking pills that don't work. So they're happy to try a new gel cap that potentially could alleviate some pain. Are
They're
there,
happy, yes, but also they're also worried because they're usually on three or four other medications. So they
so
want to make sure that it's okay.
can you speak to that a little bit in terms of the possible interactions that seniors should know about even before they come to see someone like you? That just what because cannabis is sort of seen as this perfectly safe plant, and the plant's a blessing, but it has to be tailored to the individual and the unique circumstances. So, are there any conditions or even medications that people are taking where it's sort of just a red flag, like you know what, cannabis isn't going to work for you, um, or because of even maybe like the balms, do we have a little wiggle room? Can you talk to that?
Excellent, excellent question, Catherine. And those are excellent points that you've made. You clearly did your homework. I would say that there are certain medications that can react with cannabis, just like, if you take natural supplements too, it's not just, cannabis medicine, but natural supplements. You want to be careful if you take them too closely with your prescription medications, it can affect the metabolism of your prescription medications or the cannabis. So I always tell patients, please take your natural supplements and your prescription medication, which includes cannabis, 3 hours apart. And then you want to watch out for things like if you're on blood thinners, for example, if you're maybe on Plavix or Eliquis, sometimes cannabis medicine can make the blood thinners work more effectively. So your hematologist, your blood doctor might need to monitor the way your blood thinners work. So it's not a contraindication. It just you have to just let your physician know, your health provider know that yes, I'm on cannabis medicine and I'm also on blood thinners. So those blood thinners can work extra well. I mean, it's like fish oils can also affect blood thinners. If you're taking an aspirin, for example. So those are the types of things. If you're on epilepsy medication, if you have seizures, it can affect how it metabolizes your seizure medication. Same thing with certain antidepressants or certain anti-anxiety medications, which a lot of seniors are on. You want to make sure you don't take them close together because you could maybe be over sedated. And then there's always a fall precaution. I always say, seniors, we're already a little bit unsteady on our feet. Maybe we shuffle our feet a little bit. We don't have full range of motion. If we add too much medication and cannabis on top of that at the same time, I don't want you to be unsteady and fall at home, especially if you're living alone.
Absolutely. That's a really great answer. And even like I on this podcast and this blog, even though we've been around for about like 33 days, so brand new, but I really thank you. Um, but I haven't brought up smoking or vapes because I think there's so many better options that it really, not that I have anything against those methods of consumption. Personally, one of those is my favorite method of consumption. But especially for seniors, what I've noticed, and I'm kind of curious if you could confirm or deny or tell me that I'm making stuff up, is that sometimes when seniors smoke a joint and they're sitting down on the couch, and then even if they haven't smoked that much, just a couple puffs, and they stand up, they get really dizzy. Is something going on there that could account for that? And maybe we could just offer it as a warning that, your grandchildren might come over with a joint, and yes, please have a puff of it. It's going to make dinner great. But when you stand up, just be aware of this.
That's with anyone that uses inhaled methods of vaporizer or dried flower. It might, affect your blood pressure or your heart rate just for a little bit in the beginning. So you just want to be careful. You get up a little slower, or if your heart races a little bit, it does go back to baseline. So you do want to be careful of that. Sometimes some of my seniors are already smokers, or they smoke tobacco and they enjoy smoking, and they want to use that consumption method, they certainly can. Some of my seniors, their lung capacity is not 100%. So obviously, I don't want you to inhale things that will make any coughing worse or increase, the irritation in your mucous membranes. So I am aware of that. And then there are some patients, like for example, my Parkinson's patients, they actually do very well with inhaled versions of cannabis medicine. They will inhale, maybe use a little bit of a vaporizer, and they will use some cannabis, and then they're able to stop the tremors and feed themselves dinner, which, meals, which makes a huge difference.
That's mind blowing because there's medication to quote unquote control, but that those results are remarkable. Um, can you speculate from your degree in science stuff about why that method could be so effective specifically for tremors, more so than any other method, whether it's a beverage or a soft gel or a gummy?
When you inhale cannabis, it goes directly, through lung perfusion and gets absorbed directly. It doesn't have to go through your GI tract or your metabolism. So there's an immediate reaction, right? You don't have to wait about an hour. And most of it is absorbed. So most of it is, becomes what we call bioavailable. When you're ingesting it and it goes through your GI tract, some of it gets absorbed, some of it gets excreted. So that is why smoking works so quickly for our Parkinson's patients. You get results, within 10 to 30 seconds.
That is so cool. Okay, we're going to make sure that is SEO optimized. We'll take that little quote out because everyone suffering from Parkinson's should at least know that this could be an option for them.
Correct.
That obviously they have their choices, but just knowing that the results are remarkable, that should at least pique their curiosity. Are there, just because I feel like Parkinson's comes up a lot, are there any, is it, okay, this is my specific question. That might be a little bit nerdy for our audience, but please bear with us. Is there any harm in giving someone with Parkinson's a sativa dominant strain so they can have energy and go about their day? Is there something counterintuitive about kind of an energy raising strain with someone who has tremors? Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
Okay.
And I would say that it's not that it increases your energy, because cannabis decreases the tremors and relaxes the muscles. That is what tires out our Parkinson's patients. Even though the Parkinson's patient is resting, let's say, for instance, grandpa has Parkinson's, he's sitting on the couch and he's not moving. Inside, he's moving. There's small fasciculations, there's small tremors that are happening inside that he feels that you might not see. And that is exhausting. That is exhausting. Imagine like your insides are vibrating, right? When you're using cannabis, the nervous system calms down. Those muscles twitching, right? It decreases, it calms down. And that's where the energy can be expended. And then grandpa feels like, I actually feel like I have energy because my muscles are relaxed. I feel like I'm a little bit more in control. My mood is uplifted, right? Because Parkinson's does affect creates a depression. It creates there's a psychosomatic relationship, and cannabis uplifts mood. So that's why I wouldn't say like a sativa, dominant strain, but I would more so say why that is why cannabis can be energy producing.
Wow, that is so cool. Um, are there any other conditions that your seniors suffer from that are like, I think it's called like a comorbidity. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right,
We
but
yeah, we see a lot of seniors with dementia and Alzheimer's. Sometimes there's what's called sundowning. During the nighttime, seniors get a little bit more agitated or confused, or maybe they're not sleeping well and they wake up in the middle of the night. A lot of caregivers find that it's very useful to use a nighttime formulation to help senior patients with Alzheimer's or dementia calm down, sleep through the night, much more effective than, let's say, an Ativan or a Klonopin or a Xanax, a benzodiazepine. And then, it uplifts their mood as well. So the next day, you have that benefit of a better mood, increased appetite, because a lot of patients that have dementia or Alzheimer's don't eat very much. And then you also have decreased inflammation and pain in the joints.
wow, this is fantastic. Can you imagine a world where more seniors use cannabis? That this is like that that like it's not just people on the West Coast like that got the memo. That like this is a worldwide thing.
We see patients in assisted living centers and senior centers and nursing homes. And I tell you, the nursing home staff just cry out of gratitude because they said, this is what, it can be sad to watch seniors in an assisted living or nursing home facility, but when they are giggling and laughing and getting along and their mood is uplifted and they have some energy and they're pep in their step, the staff sees it, the family members see it. So that's one of our biggest patient populations.
I love it. I love it. And have the I mean, were was there any pushback from the nursing homes originally saying like drugs, you know?
I think, it's interesting how things have changed in the last even 24 months when rescheduling was in the conversation. I think we've reached an inflection point. I've been in cannabis care for decades, so I've seen it change dramatically. But really, in the last 24 months, when we started talking about rescheduling, I noticed an inflection point where nursing homes, senior care centers, more health providers are wanting to get educated. Research has ramped up. Um, I think we will see less of the stigma and much more of increased access and education and culturally competent care.
But this holistic approach, you can't. I personally don't think you can have medicine piece by piece. Medicine is it's it can't be divided. It's you're one person. So just bringing all these components together
That's
um,
right.
in
That's
an
right, Catherine.
easy way is, I mean, it's clearly a blessing. Um, so thank you for being you and just everything you've done to help so many people. Is there anything you want our audience like to know, to think about, to marinate on that maybe like they haven't heard before?
Well, it would be lovely, I think, if insurance companies can cover cannabis care, right? Because cannabis medicine and for seniors, it would be lovely, I think, if insurance companies can get on board and really start to measure how cannabis can save healthcare costs. So if you look at one of our latest studies, LeafWell, we looked at medical cannabis states with medical with laws that for medical cannabis, and we extrapolated that the U.S. could save over 29 billion in healthcare costs because you're decreasing medication, you're decreasing ER visits, you're decreasing health utilization. We're going to publish a study in Q1. We looked at 15,000 of our patients in a year that took cannabis medicine and 15,000 patients that took no cannabis medicine. There was a 48% decrease in ER visits, 50% decrease in a doctor visit. I mean, this is huge. And benzodiazepines, so Xanax, Valium, Klonopin, Ativan, that cut in half. So this is a real game changer. I can't say cannabis is a panacea. It's not a silver bullet. It doesn't fix everything. But when you're looking at decreasing ER visits for cancer care, you have less visits to the ER for nausea, vomiting, dehydration, because you can use a gummy to decrease your nausea and increase your appetite so you're not dehydrated. When you're looking at palliative care, things that cannabis can help with to decrease those ER visits, to decrease those doctor visits, that's decreasing the load on US healthcare. That is huge. And we continue to do research with our patients across the US on a regular basis. So I'd love to share those articles with you and your audience.
Please, as soon as they're available, please share them with us. We'll put it out to everyone. We'll summarize it in case it needs to be summarized, and we'll make sure that people get the information they need. Well, this was absolutely fabulous. Thank you for being our very first guest. And oh my God, I learned so much. And I love learning about cannabis. It has been such a blessing for me in so many ways over the years. And I know it can help other people because I hear it every single day. So the more actual medical professionals who have degrees in the real world that get behind it, that's only gonna accelerate the timeline. So thank you for taking time out of your very busy day to explain what you've built and where you see it going, because I think that's the exciting part. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. And congratulations on your new podcast, Catherine.
Thank you. Thank you. Awesome.